Hello everyone, my name is Caitlin Cosby, and today, on behalf of my colleagues, I'm going to be presenting our research for Research Day 2024. Our research is titled Comorbidities Among Women Presenting to the ED with OBGYN Complaints. So, the management of obstetric and gynecological emergencies are mainly focused on the conservation of fertility and sexual function. So, the end goal for all OBGYN complaints is to make sure that in the future their fertility and sexual function is going to be preserved so we don't have problems in the long run. So common OBGYN emergencies can cause pregnancy complications in either the present or future, meaning if someone comes into the emergency department who is currently pregnant, that can obviously cause a complication, or even if they are not pregnant in the future, these complications could impact their fertility. They should be taken into consideration in all women presenting to the emergency department with related complaints. Common comorbidities such as hypertension, diabetes, and more can precede OBGYN complications that can lead to pregnancy complications in the future. So our primary objective was to use the National Hospital Ambulatory Medical Care Survey, abbreviated NHAMCS, to assess the diagnostics and comorbidities among women who utilize the emergency department for obstetric and gynecologic care. Secondary objectives are to compare demographics and comorbidities among women who are insured versus uninsured by the region they're living in, presenting by race, and also by urbanicity. So how we did this was we looked at the ICD-10 codes that started with an O for obstetric and select Z codes that fell under obstetric and gynecological conditions, and those were included in our analysis. So there are a lot of Z codes, but only the ones that fell under obstetric and gynecologic care were submitted. So a cross-sectional analysis of only 2021 was done to determine the most common comorbidities present with women that presented to the emergency department. And then the previous variables I mentioned were also taken into consideration. So this first chart, this is the prevalence of the comorbidities among women presenting to the emergency department for OBGYN care. So as you can see, asthma is the highest one on the chart. So the number of women with the condition in the sample, so there was a total of 446 women that presented to the emergency department in 2021 in our sample. At the bottom is the weighted percent, and the population estimate is N. So population estimate for asthma is 441,000 people, which is roughly 14.35% of the women that presented with these complaints had asthma. Following along with that is depression, and then we have hypertension, our substance abuse, and obesity. And as you can see, there are a lot of other disorders and conditions on here that also can heavily impact pregnancy and fertility that we measured out. The second chart is the regional comorbidities percentages among women presenting to the ED. And so, as you can see, the Midwest has the highest percent of comorbidities present, which is our lovely region of 51%. So 51% of women that presented to the ED had comorbidities, followed along by the Northeast and then the South and the West. This is one of our resources that we used, so prenatal ED visits and comorbidities. So this was a retrospective cohort study from 2011 that found that women with asthma were 2.5 times more likely to visit the emergency department, which goes along with our study. So this is just kind of a summary of the statistics of our study. So our sample had 446 women, as I mentioned, age 16 to 47. Average age was 27 and a half and 28. Our only statistical significant finding was actually the Midwest having a higher prevalence of comorbidities. Everything else was surprisingly not statistically significant. So the most common comorbidities present in women were asthma, depression, and hypertension. No significant differences were found among races, metropolitan versus non-metropolitan, or insured versus uninsured. However, the Midwest was found to have higher comorbidity rates. So further research on comorbidity influences of women who present to the emergency department for OBGYN complications is needed. And here are our references. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at my email listed here. Thank you so much for your time.